Hello, community. Georgi here. So I know it's been such a quite some time between recent videos that I have recorded and what I have discussed from my recent videos. And just some of the things that I've discussed were mainly based on life. And so some of the things that I've talked about and were included in the videos, of course, of what you've seen through the video listings and to know some of us that are YouTubers and we tend to watch YouTube videos a lot. So to say to speak and basically include, to catch up on my highlights of 2020, I know it was right the bright light behind me here. If you just give me a minute, let me adjust to that. Okay, so now you can see me better and more informally and explicitly. Anyway, so to get to the conversations of what I just discussed is basically my basic constructed videos I talked about and what I've discussed in my sayings, and as of course what I can fully go forward about, discussing our best motive decisions and practices we can go forward with for 2021. So, oh, by the way, Happy New Year. I know 2021 is on the way when so actually we're already in the year of 2021. So in the year of 2021, what we look forward to, what we want to do, and what we want to get out of for this. Perhaps as one of the goals to get out of is, let's just say we can elaborate our New Year's resolutions. Okay, what is your New Year's resolution for this year? Could it be, you want to lose some weight, you want to read more books, you want to not get so caught up in the today's monotony and the distraction of politics as an example, because again, yeah, there are a lot of exciting things in there. There's a lot of tons of information and news that we've been getting and fed up with. So in that sense, maybe this could be a better possible New Year's resolution for us is to not get ourselves caught up in the mediocrity of what we see in the news and what we always read about in Twitter, the Twitter chats, what we see of all the nonsense stuff in Twitter feed, Facebook feed, Instagram, all of that. It's great to be in it, to have a platform and actually be involved, but not get always up into the platform. It's great to be in the platform, but we don't want to be sucked up into the platform. So basically, to catch up on my briefings on the list of videos that I've made before, and I know it's been such a while since I have been in front of the screen as I'm flipping through my pages and I have a list of them. And of course, because, we keep journals around to track our information, track our details, whatnot, and say, anyway, so I won't ramble about that, and I'm going to go ahead and get to the choice, get to the heart of the matter of the discussions. All right, so in the plans of what I want to discuss are basically, catching up what I've discussed from my video listings I've discussed and recorded before. And perhaps, because with some of us who have a lot of hard time just making journals and be able to construct ourselves to write journals, to be able to journal when we have that time, when we can find that constructive time to just sit down, reevaluate ourselves. So, the listing of my previous videos I discussed, and I'll say it as it is written, stepping out for fresh air, look further. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? The battle ready awareness. And I'll elaborate about that as I go through the list, just to give you a quick description of the summary. Value of friendship. Move away from the drudging moments. This video was within, and I think it was like an 8-minute increment video that I will probably hope to elaborate on. And as I know, it's probably a rambling, as I know that I probably rambled too much in that video. The walk, human consciousness, self awareness, energy level, the levels of energy. Determine your passion that allows all of us to embrace challenge, which is basically the main subheading of my channel. Capability, time, and focus, what we all really struggle with. It's our weakness. Embracing for optimism. Embrace for optimism. And composure, which is my last video that I uploaded. So anyway, so to give you a synopsis of that, stepping out for fresh air, basically in that quick video, I then emphasized about, okay, when in times we're so distracted, challenged, and we're so caught up with the mediocrity, step out for fresh air, even if it takes for you to step outside and get, some fresh air. Looking further. Number 2, looking further. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? When around the Ronald Reagan administration, Ronald Reagan discussed in one of his early speeches before he actually ran for his first presidency in the 1980s, right after the Carter administration. And of course, the long story short, to give you a quick history lesson, the oil crisis that was happening in Iran, when Iran took control of most of the oil at that time, and there were within 50 hostages that were held hostage under Emperor Shah of Iran, who took control of Iran. So anyway, to go along with that, Reagan discussed in his speech basically as what's also been discussed in the Trump administration when Trump had performed his speech, basically to compare to what Reagan's dynamic of his speeches performed to how Trump performed his speeches. Love him or hate him, it's the transitions of presidential administrations. So Reagan emphasized about, where would you rather be? Would you rather be better off 4 years till today or 4 years ago than where you were before? Such as, of course, the past challenging, difficult stuff. I can go on and on about emphasizing details and what I've seen in the news and what I've read in the papers, but from my standpoint of this video, I see everything from the fine print. I may not be, I may be distracted and basically compulsed to the complacency of what's being seen in the news media or the reports that I read about. No, that's not the case. The case is the question from Reagan's perspective: are you better off now than where you were 4 years ago? Battle ready awareness is some quick message meaning of a spiritual type of message I picked up from a YouTube follower. He's a content creator for spiritual connection and Christianity. His name is Doug Barry. Doug Barry has a video playlist of his battle ready awareness, his talk to information about how we can spiritually connect one another. Primarily, his focus is being involved in the Catholic faith, as I had been brought up in the Catholic faith through my church and family. So go online for that if you're interested. Definitely go for it. And the value of friendship, the very basic things that can help us connect with our real friends, the very things that we talk to our friends about, real, whether it's awesome or some things that's struggling, moving away from the drudging moments. And again, when we're distracted, when we're compulsed to the mediocrity, move away from it. If we think that we're so distracted with the Twitter feed, this Facebook tweet, what's been going on in today's news, yeah, a lot of exciting stuff happens, but, there's time to move away from that. The walk, the basic things about your walking ability, your basic skills of how to actually walk properly when you're in public, such a big deal when, we have to have that proper walk, that professional type of ability where we can show professionalism when we're at work with our coworkers And I know, so as foreign and far-fetched that this may be, I see this. I mean, and again, as I've said before, I see the fine prints of what everybody does. It doesn't take for a teacher to lecture me about this. It just takes mind, body, spirit type of capability, the types of capabilities, the mind, body, spirit capabilities to see those, to see those and see what's going on within the confines of our environment. Self-awareness, some of the things that we see each day in the news, in the papers, we could encourage ourselves to be more self-aware about that in our readings that we find, but also what we can definitely figure out is basically what would we be more aware about. In this case, the question to elaborate is, what can you do to be more self-aware about yourselves? Energy level, the level of energy. Wow, okay, this is a big thing for most of us that, let's say, we tend to be lazy. We tend to not motivate ourselves from day to day because we're so, and again, that compulsed behavior that we have in the mediocrity environments that we're in. Let's get out of that. Let's get out of that mediocre type of behavior where we can have more level of energy to basically apply ourselves mentally, physically, morally, spiritually, financially, in every aspects of life. So in this case, because I was motivational speakers to basically say, hey, if you're tired, if you're lazy, get up. This product will help you. Well, in this content of information, what I'm sharing you, I can easily give this to you for free. It's free advice. It's not in any way to sell you or to spew you with information that it's going to cost you tons of fortune to guarantee that it's going to help you in the long run, which, of course, up to the person. But in and of itself, it takes personal decisions to move on, move forward with. To skip along with determining your passion, because that's my subheading of the video, the main title of this channel. Capability, what we're capable of, time and focus, our priorities, what are our priorities, what we focus our time, what we want to focus on for 2021. Embracing for optimism. I love the word optimism because I say this with awesomeness in my wholehearted attributes because optimism is great. Optimism is even more what I say is an opportunity for change because, and again, it's for some of the places or areas that I've been. I've always seen optimism. I've seen a lot of change in most of the places that I've seen before, and having exposed to areas all over domestic, whether if it's in America and abroad. I've seen places where, and again, education helps when you can help yourself see the places that you want to see. I know the quotes that Mahatma Gandhi stressed about in his speeches were, be the change that you want to see in the world. This is a quote that pops right on my mind because to be a better person, if you want to be a better person, you got to get out into the world. Then, and again, that's by the basis of your decision. What you say and do impacts towards others. Optimism, to elaborate more on the optimism part of the aspect is the changes that you want to see, for the better versus having to be pessimistic. Composure. One of my last videos that I recorded about composure was basically in a sense of being level-headed when we're talking to people, or if it's through family, brothers and sisters, friends, from coworkers. Be careful what you say. We got to be careful what we say because, and again, from my perceptions of what I see in the working environment and as understanding and as offensive that it might sound, don't be a douchebag. to your coworkers. What you say and do in front of your coworkers will be reflectively used against you. So, to wrap it up with a basic discussion of that composure topic is think what you say before it gets out of your mouth. In that sense, perform a dialogue. It's going to help you establish good relationships. Perform dialogues, great dialogues that's going to help us establish great relationships between everybody. Because as indifferent and dismissive, divisive, and as pessimistic or narcissistic that we are, we still have a hard time maintaining composure. Because, and again, we're so wrapped up in our heads and we're not really actually using our heart to basically emphasize what we should be as people, what we can do to take those attributes that we gain from ourselves and just bring it out into the real world to be more to be more, would you say, respectable. So now it's because you stand for those principles and those beliefs. It's great high respect. It's very important. Stand bold and stand strong and hold to your guns, but do not get bogged down into the drudgery. Composure. That's one of the reasons why it's so important to be or to have that composure. Basically, what it will allow you is what it will allow me, what it has allowed me is to be able to perform and contain as well as maintain my professional and good relationship. The dialogues that I maintain in my workplace, the dialogues that I maintain out in the public, the very small things that I do, such as holding the door open for a stranger when you're getting into a restaurant. Some of the things that we don't even do anymore. That's the very basis of the good deeds, universal good deeds that we don't do anymore, not commonly practiced anymore. It's time we do it. It's time we make that a goal for 2021. Give instead of get. So, in my briefings, well, not the briefings, but in my emphasis in my journals that I've written before, which is, I've got so much of journal writings that I've written down, and some of which I wanted to actually share, but I'll share one important topic that I've written about in my, reach right over here, in my Be Kind journal. The Be Kind journal that I just actually got this, and I thought to put it into good use while I'm making, or while I have established my New Year's resolution. It's some good advice that we can take into and we can definitely carry forward with. And I think it's one of my sayings that I recorded in my previous recordings. It's not video based, but it's audio based, which I'll have this uploaded in the video soon for you all to see and look at. So in my writings, I've indicated as basically was written as kindness marks an act of the willing to move with good quality. To be kind, you have to humbly swallow your own bitterness and all attributes as it applies to daily activities, using mind over matter, whether holding a door open for a citizen while entering into restaurants, businesses, or work facility, showing respect in the midst of our own divisive to dismissive remarks, which I've fully discussed briefly from the composure topic. Knowing with fulfilled kindness is even possible to show with the gain of our own lifestyles. Lifestyles I include in the notion of this writing are wealth, love, happiness, hope, sane and peaceful environment that motivates compassion, courage, spirit of boldness, and to having prosperous health, Kindness with humility is possible to inquire diplomacy instead of advocacy. Examples of what we have seen in our organizations, businesses, and in government systems are and have more to have been opposite remarks. It is by our actions that reflect who we choose to be. We have to look to aspirations that shall let us be emulating rather than condescending, searching and appreciative instead of complaining what we have and what we do not have. You remember the song, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you just might succeed. This indicates that mindless actions seem profound than what you, I, and we think what has always been profound to us. That is truth. The truth which sets us free. To finish off the sentence from that. Kindness knows that being kind understands creation and inkling of a human touch, hence the connection. Smell, feel, breathing, 4 out of the 5 senses that you can figure out the rest for yourselves. So, in my sayings and these journalings, my previous reflections of these journals that I've written about and what's has contributed my actions to making these videos, my brief synopsis of giving you the summary basically reflects to just to know that there is always something out there for us, for all of us, basically to include that, we can definitely move ourselves away from the drudging moments when we have the opportunity. So, in that sense, we can definitely do it. When there's a way, where there's a will, there is a way. Here's another quick, brief journal that I've written about perception of unity. So, a lot of the times, because of our crazy times we got going on in this world, we have a hard time uniting with ourselves. So, society as we see, if it's not perfect world, but we can allow ourselves to continually progress and understand all point of views through teachings and principles through faith-based religion. Our own belief in faith is what defines us as the human race brought into unity. Unity can, has, and will help us solve problems in the world. Hence what I've discussed before, and again, you got to have a dialogue. Everyone's got to have a dialogue of just plain language, being able to communicate in plain language. But because none taken, I rest my cases with personal views and opinions, and some of us who have that, who are stuck to our views and opinions, and for those that are opinionated, and again, we're built a certain way. So in my writings, that's one of the things I wanted to elaborate about. Here's another one, actually. The writings that I wanted to emphasize about, what I actually has already emphasized about it is the avoiding of difficulties. In the video, I talked about moving away from the judge moments. This writing sums up that video, basically what I discussed about as avoiding of difficulties. Parasites may solve the realistics of today's problems, but it does not gain any benefits. The problems to alcohol and drug usage and or sex-like images can be a stress reliever, but it does not lead to alternative positive choices. It will only create negativity. It is what I consider to call an altered mind-like disease. It's really cool way I came up with that, by the way. And to elaborate on that, the altered mind-like disease. I'll finish off first before I elaborate on that. It is a disease that penetrates the mind of individuals' ability. It leads to troubled issues that brings down interests, ambition, hope, and dreams. This what I summed up as quick fix attributes or the qualities of the instant gratification that we have today. So the altered mind-like disease that I wanted to elaborate on is basically the negative thoughts or the negative consequences that lead us to basically the bad consequences that reflect from our bad decision making. You know, the drugs that we use to abuse ourselves with, what has impacted us through all aspects of the health and well being. You know, every day we have a choice. And with that choice we make, we got to want to also accept accept the consequences, but also rebound from those consequences. Okay, so here's another writing I included in this in my recent journals. This is my idea journal. As impressive that it might sound, but and again, this is so helpful for most of us. It could be so helpful for a lot of the people who are still looking for a purpose every day. So, anyway, in the confines of my writing journal from the idea collection, I came up with this brief summation of the writing. Follow on. Continue to promote, participate, and advise. This, in the content of information I include about it, is basically how we can ourselves, on top of what we got going on, just be more of a concerned citizen. Continue to promote, participate, and advise a progressed but not a perfected community, state, and nation. Advocate to be a concerned citizen. Promote a nation that would need and should be sacred, protected, content, wealthy, prosperous, strong, and welcoming. A country is not sacred without protection and safety for all the innocent lives. A country will not be worth to run with a continuity of open borders. It will only create more problems. Yes, the open borders will welcome the unfortunate innocents, but have a mindful attitude to welcome the good. And again, thereby, to go off context, that's why most countries have those vetting systems. Not too bad. With the wall and the border, it shall not isolate a nation, but prove that a nation is meant to be smart, strong, capable to defend and attack, armed for the sake of safety and protection, but of all for people. A country needs and should be a nation of all, not by a division. It needs to be a dignified nation belonging through peace, strength, obedience, loyalty, friendly, kind, courteous, brave, clean, helpful, cheerful, thrifty, brave, and reverent. I take these quick off context. I take these brief principles to include from what I've learned in the Boy Scouts of America. Examples of nations' division include divides of the political affiliation, hatred of race, stereotypes, prejudice, discrimination to skin color, creed, and gender. The following above will not be a cooperative in a smooth nation. It does not influence a cooperative and smooth nation. The leader of a nation shall not pursue and lead his or her people for gain of power and money. A leader shall lead and serve the people for the love of the country. The nation must be accountable for multiple sins. Sins include corruption, smuggling, unwanted and imported refuse, hate, crime, infant mortality, money laundering, human trafficking, misrepresentations to the men and women from the mainstream media, vandalism, persecution to those that practice their faith, and the threat of terrorism, whether domestic and foreign. You can already see in the fine prints of what you've already known that terrorism in the Middle East has come to an end. And what you've seen that there has been promotion of peace and a relationship dialogue between government systems of Saudi Arabia, Iran, Afghanistan, and of most of other countries at large who want to do business in those countries that can still also embrace for optimism. So in this video, I just wanted to really touch up, and as though it's been such a while since I've been in front of the camera, but also I will be back soon with this, and that we can critically think about what we can do and actually have a more constructive mindset for 2021. So I take this in personal conclusion: be well, be concerned, and also let's make good choices for 2021. All right. And so I will go ahead and move on, and you all be good, and we'll catch up again next time. All right. Peace. And